Welcome to Sewing Out Loud, the official podcast of Zede Sewing Studio. Here are your hosts, Zede and Mallory.
Sewing Out Loud. Hello and welcome to the podcast. This is Mallory Donahue.
And this is Zede Donahue. And please tell me that my voice is recording
Yes,
this time.
your voice is recording.
That would be good.
Yeah, I did a little mix-up there again.
And we won't talk about my lack of technical savvy.
I guess maybe you get what you pay for, huh? Maybe we need to be paying
If I triple your salary, it doesn't help, does
No,
it?
it doesn't.
Because 0 times 3 is 0. Yes.
Well, before we get started on today's topic, I'd like to invite you to subscribe to us on iTunes and leave a review. It can even be a bad one if you'd like.
If you're really mean.
If you give us a 1-star review, tell us why.
Exactly.
Someone gave us a 1-star review.
Did they?
Yeah. Someone gave us a 4-star review. This was very nice, and they said, "I'm giving you this 4-star review. Good podcast. I can't hear Mallory," or something.
Well, I've also heard that some people don't like that you talk over me.
You're right. Excuse me.
But that's how we live.
No. Well, anyway, I think we fixed that problem, though. We went back and remixed all of the podcasts for the so that both of our voices come out of both stereo sides or something.
Well, we should put a microphone up at like our dinner table when all 3 sisters are present.
Yes.
and see if anybody can tell who's talking. Yeah, over who.
Yes, right. That's right. I think it's funny because I would say maybe you talk over me more in real life.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Maybe we should have somebody follow us around when we can afford that kind of study. Yeah. Okay.
Or do we want to afford that kind of study?
So today's podcast topic is burrito pillowcases. And Mom, when did you first hear about burrito pillowcases?
I'm thinking 4 to 5 years ago, but yeah, I think that's probably it. And I don't think I paid a lot of attention to the fact that someone was calling it burrito pillowcase. I pretty much, I think, was secure in the fact that I'd probably made any kind of pillowcase possible in my whole life, so it was just something someone had renamed.
Right. And when I first heard of burrito pillowcases, somebody brought a pillowcase to club and was like, "We all made these pillowcases, some kind of, like something charity event or something like that, and we did them the burrito way, so all the edges are finished." And that's what they said, and I was like, "Oh, okay." And I didn't get to look at it,
right? And
I was like, "All the edges are finished," and I thought that's how our pillowcases are, that all the edges are finished.
That's right.
Okay. So then it happens again, and somebody's like burrito, or isn't there another word? Jelly roll is not the word, but I don't know. Enchilada, something, pillowcase technique. So all the edges are finished. And I was like, so that's
pierogi pillowcase.
Yeah. Kolache pillowcase. I was like, so you make they said you put the band on first or what? And I was like, how can all the edges be finished then? And I don't have the best sense of direction, right, Mom? Right?
Oh, sense of direction? No, not at all.
But I am
at all.
I'm pretty good spatially.
The North Star could be like on her forehead, and she wouldn't know where she was.
But I think I'm pretty good spatially from having.
Spatially, you're second to me.
Yeah, having had you as a mom, somebody will show me something. I'm like,
right.
I think I know how that's made. Like I can picture it flat out, pattern pieces. Not all the time, but I'm okay at it, right? And I was just like, how can all the edges be finished when they do it like this? And finally...
Because they were lying.
Yes. I see somebody's pillowcase, and I'm like, there are threads sticking out the end of your pillowcase. No, they're not all enclosed. And they did a French seam. Okay, they
right.
But there was still, when you do a French seam, there's this little edge on that sewn side.
Right. Exactly. There's an open area, yes.
And I was tempted to entitle...
And there's nothing wrong with that.
No, there's nothing wrong with that.
Unless you've learned better.
Unless you want to... Now, I do know why they do this pillowcase technique for charity reasons, for charity sewing, because you can cut it wrong it can be cut wrong, put together, and then you can like sew it up.
Okay, but the way you do mine, you can't
I know,
even cut it wrong.
But what if like you get some volunteer who's like, I've sewn a lot and I can cut perfectly or something like that.
That's almost all the volunteers.
Well, yes, exactly. So I guess I understand why
Right,
this is
right.
done in some environments, but like,
Right.
okay, so I'm just saying, like,
But
we're
it's not easy to sew. Even if it's
Nope.
cut correctly, it is really not
it's
that
not
easy
it's
to
not
manipulate.
that easy to sew. I feel like maybe you just take the time and teach people how to do this other pillowcase technique. But I don't want to completely discount this. If you like to make pillowcases
Right.
this way, great. But we don't like to make them this way for the reasons that we
Right.
will detail now. So talk to me about how you make a pillowcase.
And you're talking about just a regular pillowcase.
Just a
Like I
regular-
would approach a regular pillowcase with a band.
To put on your bed. Yeah, okay, so it's a pillowcase for a queen size bed pillow, right? Like
Okay,
a
do we
normal-
have a decorative band on it, or is it
And then
just
it's
one
got a
piece
band.
of fabric?
And then it's got a band.
You want it to have a band.
Okay, it's got a band.
Okay,
'Cause
that's a band.
Because we're comparing it to the burrito pillowcase.
Okay,
which
and the
has a
burrito
band.
care, you're right, it
Yeah.
does. The burrito pillowcase does have a band.
Yeah,
Okay.
and we'll have pictures and stuff in our show notes, but for those of you just listening right now, it's got a band.
Okay, so I certainly decide what size I want my pillowcase, standard king, queen,
Okay.
or airplane, because there's that little bitty airplane
Mm-hmm.
pillow that travel pillow we go around with sometimes. And a lot of times I would teach pillowcase class with that size pillowcase, so
Sure.
we could make like several or
Uh-huh.
something. So basically, let's say we're just going to have one color band and the body
Yeah,
color.
yeah.
Okay, no decorative, anything
Sure,
else there.
sure.
All right. So what I do is I will cut the body of the pillowcase,
Mhm.
measure that to the proper size, and it is basically a big rectangle,
Uh-huh.
okay? Because there's going to be a seam on the end, the
Yeah.
short end,
Uh-huh.
and there'll be a seam on the long end.
Right.
If that makes sense to everybody.
Yeah, so there's a seam that would be like in the
At the end of the pillow.
right, that's in the center of the bed, right? Like it's
If that's what you would call it. You're confusing people.
Am I
with
confusing
that, I
people?
think.
Okay.
I don't know.
Well, it's on the end of the pillow.
Right,
where
the
you
end of
drop,
the pillow,
You
right.
drop the pillow in
Right,
there.
right,
yeah.
right.
Uh-huh.
Like the length where you would slide the pillow. in,
Sure.
Right. Okay. And then there is the long side of the pillow.
Yep.
Okay. So I would basically cut that, and it winds up being a rectangle that I'm just folding over and I'm only sewing it on the short end and then the long. So I've got, one side doesn't have a seam
One side's open.
and one side's open.
and one side doesn't have a
And
seam.
one side's just folded
It's
over.
fold, yeah. Okay.
Correct. And then the band is cut
Uh-huh.
twice its depth.
Yep.
Okay. So if I have a decorative band on there, say that's 3 inches,
Mhm.
it would be cut 6 or 6.5 inches because I need seam allowance.
Yeah, double plus seam allowance. Sure.
Right.
Sure.
Right. Okay. And then what I'm doing is I am sewing that into a circle,
Yep.
right sides together, and I'm sewing over the short ends of that, and I have a band that is basically open.
Yeah, you made a big loop.
I made a big loop.
Yep.
Okay. And now I'm going to put wrong sides together,
Yep.
enclosing that seam because we're enclosing all of our seams, right?
Yep.
Okay. So and I may even press that. I probably wouldn't. I don't like to press until the seam is sewn.
Yeah,
But
that's a podcast.
that is a podcast.
Okay.
So I'm taking that loop, and I'm taking that seam that I made on that side, and I'm matching it to the seam on the side of the pillowcase, right? The
Yep.
long edge of the pillowcase,
Mhm.
where I have the other one. And basically, I am right side to right side.
Yep.
So I have that band down over the body,
Uh-huh.
right? And I serge it with band side up on my serger.
Yep.
Okay, this can be a 4-thread or a 3-thread. Honestly, you're not going to wear the pillowcase out in that spot.
Right.
And what I would call a normal length in your stitch, like a 3 maybe, or it could be even a 2.5, but probably a 3. And then I'm going to stitch in a circle around that. And again, as I say, the band side is up because when you serge, if you have a proper stitch going in your serger, the top serge always pulls around.
Yeah, like it will face you.
You can't tell it. But so then when I finish serging in my circle and I take it off of there and I pull that band down, that seam will flip up into the inside of the pillowcase.
Toward the body of the pillowcase.
Towards the body of the pillowcase. And at the hem of the pillowcase, so to speak, you will see nothing.
Yes.
You will see one seam that's enclosed along the, length side of the pillow, but all of that will be a folded edge, which is where you need the most fabric anyway, because that hem is where you get, honestly, the most wear on your pillow.
Sure.
Because you pull on it and all of that.
Yeah, you pull on it when you put the pillow in there or whatever.
Exactly.
And
that's where you need the most reinforcement.
So when you're holding your pillowcase to put your pillow in there,
right.
You're holding on to that band. All the way around there is smooth fabric.
That's right.
There's a little seam in it. But it's
an enclosed seam.
It's an enclosed.
You don't feel it. It's an enclosed flat seam.
When you do the burrito method, there's like
there's a seam sticking up.
Sticking out. Like imagine if
there's a French seam that is there, and you see the end of the French seam.
Yes.
It's not smooth. It's not what we call enclosed.
Right. It's not an enclosed seam. And so that's what. So the burrito. If you don't know how burrito pillowcase is made,
look it up.
There's a ton of videos.
It's not on our site.
No, it's not on our site. But there's a ton of videos on YouTube about it. And what they do, the seam that they end up enclosing,
right,
is the one where the band attaches to the body. That's where that French seam gets made. But then it's not enclosed after that. Then they do the L seam that you described being your first step of your pillowcase.
Right.
The bottom, and then that seam just gets run all the way up. Now, you described your construction as being on the serger.
I did, and you could do that on a sewing machine.
So I don't know if this person who was like, everything's enclosed, thought that like a serge seam didn't count as an enclosed seam.
Well, here's the deal. You can make that seam a French seam if you wanted. It would be enclosed.
You can make every seam a French seam.
But my thought is it would also be a little bit bulky.
Bulkier, yeah.
I wouldn't like that.
Yeah.
You could also use your sewing machine, make a regular seam, and just do an overcast, zigzag stitch on your machine. Or you can do what I call like a double stitching. Stitch your seam and then, move over 1/8 of an inch and stitch it again. And you're not going to ravel.
Well, I guess what I'm saying is if someone's like, well, wait, I still don't like that serger construction because I see threads or whatever. Right. Do a French seam there, and a French seam is where you actually, if you don't know what that is, it's where you sew wrong sides together first.
Right.
Flip it, or trim, flip it, so sides together, so you have that finish in there. But yeah, I mean, I feel like those burrito pillowcases, if it will, that exposed little,
that bothers me more than something
fabric,
that's up farther in the pillow.
Yeah.
Well, the other thing is, I don't remember if you remember my class. I think it's been about 5 years since I taught this class or so, but I used to teach what I called the $1,200 pillowcase, and you know that story.
Yeah.
I love linens, I love sheets, I love anything that's fabric, of course. So I had come upon a set of sheets I saw in a overstock type store, like a Tuesday Morning or Marshall's or something like that. I can't remember. And I saw this set of sheets and I was like, oh my God, these are beautiful. Oh, I think I've got to have these. And I turned it over. And the price on these sheets was like $600, which was a bargain because they were really $1,200 normally. Honestly, if I could have afforded them, I would have bought these sheets. Okay, that's how much they turned me on, so to speak. They were just beautiful.
I believe you used a very specific word.
No, that was about another sheet, but yes.
Okay.
I have used that word before.
Maybe after the message break. Okay.
I think I have used that describe that before, yes. Anyway, I thought, I have to ask the people if I can open this package and look at these because, they have like a inventory tag on there
Yeah.
where you can't zip it open.
Mhm.
It's in the plastic thing. And I thought, if they think I'm going to spend $600 for these sheets, certainly they'll let me look at them first.
Yeah.
And they did. They opened it for me, and I looked because I thought, I've got to see how these suckers are made if they're worth $1,200. And they were. I can't remember. They were very high count.
Uh-huh.
And I don't remember what the thread count was, but it was high. And they felt like better than silk. They were this lovely Egyptian, long fiber, high count, whatever. And I look at the pillowcase and I'm like, and I had felt sheets almost as nice as this, or maybe as nice as this, that cost less than $100,
Sure.
right? Now, this is a king size bed, so I'm paying, high price. I'm paying the most for my sheets. And so I look at how the pillowcase is constructed, and I go, I teach that pillowcase. And I've always caused, I can't remember what I used to call it. I started using it on my daughter Lindsay's bed because I'd always find her pillow squirted out the end of her pillow.
Uh-huh.
And this had a flap on it
The little-
that would hold the pillow in.
Yeah,
Right.
little
And
flap
I
pouch
probably
thing.
called it the Lindsay pillowcase at that time. So after that, I started calling it the $1,200 pillowcase. Now, on that one, also, every single seam is enclosed.
Right.
Nothing shows. So and you can put a decorative band on it. There's all these things you can do that you are not limited to. So I don't know what the burrito, I think to me, it's, what do you call that?
A gimmick.
A gimmick, yeah. There's something else to call the word, like a catchword, like to get people to pay attention. A burrito pillowcase, has it got beans in it? What? Make you interested or something.
But kind of like a buzzword. I think
A buzzword. That's a good word.
I think what got me kind of disenchanted was just the assertion that all seams were enclosed. It wasn't like I do this because
you mean that it was kind of a lie?
Yeah, yeah. They weren't like, I have to make pillowcases this way because I have to, or because it's the only way I know I can do it or something. And I'm like, no. The way we make them is like easier. Like you don't have to worry about rolling that up in the band and all that.
Well,
crap,
not only easier, they're nicer. There's less bulk.
Yeah.
There's I could, we could sit down with two of them together. I can point it out to you. So it is very irritating when somebody comes up with a gimmick or a word or something to me and leads you in a certain direction. And here's the other thing. People are not as successful with those pillowcases as they are with some of the others. And that makes me angry.
No, because I will buy something even if it's gimmicky and it works. I'm like, take my money,
Oh no!
Right?
If there's a tool, if there's anything that I think gives me time, makes
Yeah,
it quicker, impresses me in any way, I am more than willing.
And I might pay.
But being misled, you're
Yeah,
talking over me.
I am talking over you. No, you're talking over. No. I will pay $5 extra for the scissors to be fuchsia instead of black. And I'm fully aware. I'm like, oh well, yeah, I want the fuchsia ones.
Oh yes,
But
they pandered to you and you ate it up.
No, I did. I'm like, you got me. It's all right. Though, because I'm
Mm-hmm.
happy. But I'm sort of like, no, you're telling people that there's this new technique that's like easier, and it's just not.
It's almost like somebody made something up to make it harder.
I know, and maybe we're super sensitive to this being people who have to teach people how to sew.
Right.
And seeing we don't want to be too dramatic, but seeing the heartache that can sometimes happen when someone is led astray.
I think my biggest thing whenever we have, well, I could say with a new employee, but old employees that have been around, whatever, anyone, what do I say to them about a class? You are not allowed to teach a class unless the person feels successful. If you don't feel successful, I don't care if it's a simple class, an involved class, whatever. I do not want that class to be so involved that someone does, or involved might not be the right, or complicated, or whatever. Successfulness is what makes you feel good.
Mm-hmm.
Not, oh my God, I just took this class and paid all this money and I can't even do it.
Right.
And
that's why some of our classes, are our technique classes.
Right.
Hey,
we do things to build on technique.
Yeah, come insert 3 zippers.
Right.
Not, hey, come make this tailored wool skirt for your first zipper insertion.
Or this
Maybe.
multi-pocketed,
Yes.
14 zipper diaper bag.
Sure.
Because people become overwhelmed.
Right.
If they learn to put in a zipper, if they learn to make this kind of seam, if they learn to apply bias, they can make a diaper bag later.
Yep.
Yeah.
Kind of do their own thing. Well, I think that, if you like to make burrito pillowcases.
We're sorry.
No, well, I mean, burrito on, man. Do whatever.
And that is true. If it is something you like to do,
Yep.
I don't
And
think
it's
anybody has
successful.
the right to discourage you.
That's right.
If you like it, if you want to do it, I'm sure there are people that wonder why the heck I make my own T-shirts when they can go and buy one at Target for $18.
Right.
I'm sure they think I'm crazy.
I believe if there's somebody out there just burritoing away as they listen to this podcast.
Imagine all the people that can't believe somebody makes their own pillowcases.
Yeah, well, exactly. No, but if that's the way you like to do it, then great. But but if you're at home and you're like, I tried to burrito and it was so traumatizing or whatever, then you're not alone.
We had a very accomplished employee in our store that taught a lot of beautiful classes. I'm not going to name her because she's actually got videos online that you guys watch, and we've got a lot of positive feedback. They came in and tried to make a burrito pillowcase, and she kept saying, I keep getting, and I go, it's not a good idea. I'm telling you, you're not going to be, it's not a good idea.
Yeah.
And we kept taking seams out and redoing it. And I said, it's not a good idea. Let's make it the old way.
Yeah. No.
And
I know.
she finally made it, the way we had owned for years, and she was much happier.
Well, I think that kind of sums up our burrito pillowcase discussion. I'm so glad to have got this podcast topic. It's been on my list since the beginning. It's got on my chest.
It's a way? Do you feel lighter now?
I feel lighter,
freer.
Yes.
That the burrito pillowcase is no longer weighing you down.
Yes.
I'm happy for you.
Well, thank you all for listening. New episodes come out every Friday, so go to iTunes and subscribe.
So long and goodbye. Thanks for listening to Sewing Out Loud. For even more expert sewing advice, visit sewhere.com.